So
Okay.
basically where we're at is when we were kids, we used to move sprinkler pipe. Back then, guys in the almond industry were getting about 1,800 pounds to the acre. And they were averaging anywhere from 70 to 80 trees to the acre. Okay? The farmer tells you that everything is based on production. That's why they do business the way they do. So now, modern day, and that goes back 25 years ago, modern day, they're getting 2,500, and if they're real happy if they get 2,800 pounds to the acre. But they're planting, and this goes back even a couple years ago, 140, 150 trees to the acre. And nowadays they're planting even as high as almost 200 trees to the acre. All in the name of better production and higher production. But if you do the math, their production levels are going down, their cost is going up, and they're thoroughly convinced that because that one number, overall weight, went up, that their production levels are up.
In reality, it dropped.
It dropped.
Per organism.
Yeah.
Per tree.
Yeah. And so, you start talking to the farmer about that and the cost of doing business. Yeah, I can beat their production levels any day of the week. I know that I can.
That's less work.
Well, cost of per tree, if I can pull off the same numbers with less trees, better health of the trees, higher Brix counts, which is the overall lifeblood of the plant, so that I know that if I'm healthy there, I don't have to spray that fungicide before bloom, which saves them, well, the last one was $600 to the acre. That's a few nuts.
Yeah. That's a
So,
few pounds.
I mean, it's the same old thing. It's like, okay, you got the highest number around, but how much did it cost you, and what's your margin?
Right.
Even if you grow only 2,000 pounds to the acre, 1,800 pounds to the acre of years ago, but your cost of doing business drops to nil or very little, wouldn't you rather keep that money in the bank?
Yeah.
And actually work less?
So essentially they're giving what used to be profits to the ag companies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now you don't have just the fertilizer guy. You got an agronomist doing all your leaf analysis. You have a PCA doing your pest control advising. You have all the different sprays. If there's 52 weeks in a year, you're spraying 50 of it. No, I mean it.
Yeah.
I mean it. Because you've got your bloom, and then you've got to spray to make sure that those blooms stay on there a certain amount of time. So there's certain sprays that you spray for that. You've got fungicides that you spray. You've got insecticides that you spray. You've got herbicides that you spray for the weeds prior to harvest. I mean, you literally are spraying on a constant basis. All of that through things that actually run behind tractors that cost fuel. And there's a person in that tractor. So when you start looking at what's a more natural method of doing things, and you get that one number out of your head about production and that high number, it's called common sense, which is gone.
Right.
And the farmer has this idea that you got to add something to the soil to make things happen. And I say that, I have that video. They've lost faith in the soil.
And the system that has existed for millions of years prior.
Well, yeah, I mean,
The tree's always known what to do.
if you want to kill the forest, fertilize it.
Okay.
And that's what I look at. So what do we need to do? Increase organic material and biology. That's your nutrient value. And the farmer that grows in a sandy loam says, oh, but you can't increase organic material. Well, you haul off how many tons to cogeneration every year? Just from pruning, just from tearing out orchards, just from doing certain things that can be composted as a benefit. Do we have to input biology on a constant basis? Absolutely. Will we have to from here on out? Absolutely. Guess what? Compost tea is the cheapest form of biology that you can purchase, bar none, to any other type of fertilization process ever in existence. Whenever you get into the large-scale brewing mechanisms, I can take 7 pounds of worm castings with a good compost tea mix of compost of about 7 pounds. So I have 15 pounds of product. I can put that in a 2,500 gallon brewer with a certain other portion of recipe, kelp and humic and things like that. Brew that for anywhere from 18 to 24 hours, and now I have enough applicable product that I can dilute that 10 to 1. So now I have 25,000 gallons of applicable product to put on my orchard. And it cost me, I don't know, say $250.
And they're healthier.
Yeah. So, the cost is just, it's a mute point.
Right.
It costs you more to put it on than it does to make it.
Yeah. A lot better than the $600 an acre.
Oh, yeah. Spectrum fungicide is $600 a gallon, and it's 1 gallon to the acre.
And that messes with the...
That's a fungicide.
And it messes with the soil fungi.
Oh, well, let's take an antibiotic and call it health.
Hmm.
That's the same thing that our farmer's bound to. Our farmer is bound to going to the doctor for health.
Right.
But they aren't a health doctor, they're a medicine doctor. Our farmers go to an agronomist who basically, and a PCA, who tell them how to get rid of bugs through sprays and how to grow plants through fertilizers. And we call that health. And there is no longevity in it. We know that. Look at the San Joaquin Valley. And, the farmer looks at it from a longevity standpoint, somewhere down the line. I want to hand this down from my son to my son to his son to his son. There won't be handing down, because we're killing the soil to a point that you won't be able to grow in it.
And all these bugs come to the plants because they're kicking up exudates,
Yes.
saying they're sick.
Yeah.
Which is what...
Well, that whole system, everybody thinks that, the bugs show up, we got to get rid of the bugs. No, the bugs are being called by the plant.
Right.
They're waving a flag of surrender. I'm done, I'm sick. Come eliminate me from this planet so that hopefully the next generation, once I go into this soil, I break down and decay and activate microbial populations, that I'll make the soil stronger for the next generation to survive. That's how the system works. If that bug isn't there to make that plant healthy and to get rid of those exudates, then that plant is weak. And we look at it from a deficiency of nutrient. It's not a deficiency in nutrients. It's a deficiency in the proper biology to sustain the plant properly.
And essentially the plant's saying, I'm on the verge of death, and rather than the death happening, the plant's being kept on life support through chemicals.
Yes, absolutely.
And
yeah,
so something that would typically die,
yeah,
we're saying, no, stay alive. Here's this fungicide, or here's this pesticide.
It's just like us. We either take health into our own hands. When's the last time a doctor, if you go in there and you're sick, do they even interview and ask you, hey, by the way, do you smoke? By the way, what's your diet like? Do you exercise? No, it's, what are your symptoms? Here's a pill.
Right.
That's it. Let's not fix the problem. Let's not look at taking health into our hands.
We'll just address the symptom.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whenever we have a sick tree, plant, whatever, we aren't looking at it from a biological, from a nutrient standpoint. We're looking at what can we add to solve this problem.
Right.
That's it.
And it's the immediate problem. It's not the long term.
No.
You're not looking at the root of the problem. You're looking at just the last bit of the end of that problem.
If we look at deficiencies in this country, whether you're talking about plants or humans, vitamin D is the next big one on the horizon. Calcium always has been a big one on the horizon. Most of our foods are fortified with that beyond belief, but our bodies are not able to assimilate them properly because of the diets that we keep in this country. So let's look at the plant. We have a farmer who puts on, they harvest 2,800 pounds of nuts, but they're putting on 1,500 pounds of gypsum or higher to the acre to try to increase calcium levels, to try to maintain pH issues that they have. And yet, they can add that 5-6 years in a row, and they still can't increase calcium. Because calcium can only be assimilated and taken by a fungal dominant soil, which means it has to have organic material in it.
So just like us, without the biology doing its job, nothing gets...
You can take all the vitamins you want. If you can't uptake those vitamins, they don't do you any good. It makes your pee turn yellow. That's it.
Right.
I mean,
but if you have a healthy biology,
then it's going to benefit you. And you're going to increase, and you're going to get the benefit from it. But always look at biology first. In everything that we do, if we looked at the biological process first, that would be...
it's the real thermometer, so to speak.
Well, and the thing that we got to look at is that exudate system and the way that all works. In plain and simple English, if that plant is healthy, that means we have healthy soil, and it means that what we eat from that plant might make us healthy.
Right. Good in, good out, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. That's the understanding that you and I understand, and it needs to get out there.
Yeah, this stuff is too important, and the exudate systems and all those things, all these things that are going on, and all we see is a plant. That's all we see, just looking back at it. And we see something go wrong, we think, oh well, it's this bug that's doing it, when it's several orders something else.
Below that.
Yeah, it's not just A equals B. It's, A leads to Z, and there's a whole process that goes on.
When the plant is trying to do its thing and it can't do it, it's the one that calls the shots. It's the one that's telling the soil, telling each microbe through its exudate system, its waste stream. It's a byproduct from it doing its job every day. Photosynthesis, taking in nutrients from the biological process, giving off exudates to feed those microbes. When it actually can't do that through that biological process, it sends off exudates through its leaf system, saying, I'm done, I'm weak, I'm destroyed, come get me, eliminate me from this planet. It is its mechanism to remove itself. If it can't get that immunity, if it can't be a healthy plant, we shouldn't be eating it.
Yeah. But most of us, that's all we can get.
Well, that's the only thing that we can get.
Yeah.
I mean, why is it that we can't raise a healthy cow in this country without shooting it full of antibiotics? Why is it? And I mean, it sounds totally backwards, and every rancher, farmer wants to say you're just a tree hugging, blah, 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 whatever. But really, when it comes down to it, it's that they don't have the guts to change the way that they're doing it. They think that they're going to lose the farm. It goes beyond that. Take a medical doctor. He knows the crap that he's putting out is medicine that's destroying people's lives. But he doesn't see a way out. He's not trying to change it. It's really sad because we're all locked against a wall.
The system.
And it's the system. The medical doctor, he branches off, becomes a naturopath. There's no longer insurance monies there. You aren't covered under insurance. The farmer, he turns around and he wants to use compost teas, and change the way the farm is done. He no longer has crop insurance.
Right.
The system is bound to that. I go to the university system and I want to talk about soil biology, soil plant relationships like Dr. Elaine Ingham did. I get my walking papers because it pisses off the Monsanto program.
Right.
They now are the ones that run the show. It is big business, big government. It is petroleum-based, synthetic-based, petrochemical fertilization, and it is pharmaceutical-based medicine, period. That's all it comes down to, is those cogs that run the whole show. Our insurance is designed around it. Our medicine is designed around it in health. Our food is designed around it, all based on sales of petroleum-based products and pharmaceuticals.
That's making us sick.
Which is a benefit.
Because there's more money in being sick than there is in being healthy.
Yeah.
So I guess if you're watching this, watch it while you can. Who knows when this will be taken down?
Right.
Who knows when I'll be sued for putting this up? You know what I mean?
No, I guess, insurance doesn't cover that, does it?
Who knows? I mean, they find a way. I kind of, view the. Bear with me here. You remember old broadcast when we watched TV? How many channels were there?
Yeah.
2, 3.
Yeah.
And then we got cable, and there was more, and then there was more available to us. And now you've got something like YouTube, which is more like soil biology in the sense that imagine yourself as the plant. You put out into the world with your web search what you want, what you're looking for. And it goes out and finds a user who has produced what you want and brings it back to you. The same thing a plant does.
Yes.
Plant says, I'm looking for this particular nutrient, I'm looking for this particular thing.
Yes.
Puts it out in the root system. The root system finds a bug and nurtures that bug, and that bug produces what the plant's looking for.
Absolutely.
And so, how cool is YouTube compared to broadcast in the 80s?
Right.
It's so much more satisfying.
Yeah.
You can find exactly what you want to watch. And it makes your mind more fertile, I guess. More successful, because you're out there, you're able to grow more because of something like Google and YouTube. You can go out and pick up these things that you wouldn't normally be able to find on broadcast television.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, the similarities there. The more diversity you have in the system, the
it's
healthier.
an awesome analogy. And the thing of it is it's simple.
Let it do its thing.
Yeah. I mean, the
YouTube
microbes
didn't get a hold of me to make this video.
Well,
You know?
the microbes have two jobs. They balance the soil to sustain the plant. So they make the soil right. You have fall happen in the forest, all the leaves are broken down, turns into a mulch, turns into a humus, turns into a nutrient value as an exchangeable or extractable form of nutrients, stored away like a big charged battery in the soil until the plant needs it. A dead battery is no good. We want a charged battery. That's where the exchangeable and extractable forms of nutrients come into play through the biological process. Anything else, as far as the way that we look at things, would be only soluble nutrients, which is a minute amount, a very minuscule amount. So whenever we talk about, again, back to the farming and the way that we look at things, we're literally spoon feeding a meal ready to eat to the plant at any given time, rather than having the soil alive, fully charged for the plant to sustain itself anytime it needs to be healthy. The other job that the microbes have, beside balancing that soil that way and making that charged battery, that storehouse of nutrients, a pantry of nutrients, we might say, is they actually feed the plant. They actually take that food from the pantry, or they run the wire from the charged battery right to the root zone of the plant and spoon feed it themselves. The farmer greatly lacks the faith in the soil. They greatly lack the understanding of the soil from that standpoint, because they've never been taught that. University system, back again. Because what happens is, they greatly limit the thought process of, oh, it's just microbes. But if you take just those little microbes, those little microscopic critters, all of them teeming within the soil, in undisturbed soil, well, basically in the soil on this planet, just the first foot of soil, if you took the microbes from that soil and weighed them, it outweighs all the other life forms on this planet combined.
All the ones we can physically see.
Yeah. We greatly limit what we think the soil can do. And that's just the microbes. That's just the bacteriums, the ciliates, the fungi, the amoebas, all those guys. The other side of the coin is the fungus. Fungus is the largest organism on the planet. It can be massive in size. Wisconsin State University did a study on fungus. And they sporulated one fungus and grew it over a period of about a little over a decade. And that fungus grew to be the size of basically 13 acres, and in mass it was 10 times larger than a blue whale. In mass.
Wow.
So again, smallest organism on the planet working with the largest organism on the planet in symbiotic relationship, with symbiotic relationship to the plant to make it grow healthy. And we think that we can screw with that and make it better.
Right. We think we can play God.
Yeah. Well, and
that's
that's it. I mean, there's perfection there. We've just messed it up along the way. That fungus, in every way, shape, or form, grows like roots, and it acts as a conduit, again, a wiring system from those charged batteries, to disperse all the nutrients that you need in the soil throughout the soil to other plants and other things to make an environment there. Over and above that, that fungus will give up its life to balance the soil if need be. If there is a problem with nutrients coming into play and you have a rich fungal dominant soil with lots of organic material, but for some reason that nutrient value just isn't there, that fungus will say, I'm done. I'm going to start withering away. You guys come cannibalize me, you microbes, and make sure that these plants sustain themselves, because I do know that I'll live again someday, because they sporulate. And they're very massive in numbers. And they're spores that last and have a dormancy factor that is phenomenally long time. There are spores that they found in ancient Egyptian tombs that they sporulated and they grew. Because the conditions were finally right and they grew. So I mean, we think we know a little bit. We can't even fathom the way it works.
So instead of setting up our plants with a garden outside, a supermarket nearby, and a pantry, and a refrigerator, instead we're throwing hot pizza at it and expecting it to do extremely well.
Yeah.
And it may be used to that hot pizza, but it's not doing it any favors.
Right.
And you think of us when we eat
and when the hot pizza
all the
doesn't
time,
make you feel good, just take a shot of Jack.
Right. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to make everything soluble rather than...
Well, and that's what everybody learns. Everybody learns soluble forms of nutrients. That's what our whole basis of the entire system is set up on, is NPK. And that's it. Let's just look at that. Let's go by this value. This farmer needs this amount. We go by units of nitrogen. Let's put it in the soil. There we go. Here we go. There's no exchangeable or extractable form of nutrients whenever you talk to anybody that's in any form of sales for any fertilizers.
No money.
No, you build that, you're building something that sustains itself. Sustainable ag is not what everybody thinks, where you put a solar panel on your well pump.
Right. No, it's something that can go on and
a tree actually grows with just water, soil, and sunshine.
Yeah, and that's something. But we think we've got to do inputs. We've got to give the tree the right food. We got to do all this stuff and spray it down with this.
Because nutrients, there is no nutrients that happen within the soil.
Right. That's crazy. The idea that it would do so much better if we just left it alone, and let it do its thing and not try and do everything for it. In a sense, we're trying to change the processes of everything, and we don't know what we're doing. It's like doing brain surgery with a hammer.
Well, we really, and it comes back to, again, we've lost faith in the soil. We've lost faith in the way that, I firmly believe perfect design from the very beginning. It was done right. God made it that way. We've just messed it up. We've perfected His perfection.
Right. Hasn't worked out so well.
Yeah. And, I can't say shame on the farmer, but they're the ones that are going to have to realize this and change.
Yeah, it won't change without them.
No.
So.
And
like
it really, it comes down to educate yourself properly and take a leap of faith. Get away from big government, big pharmaceutical, big petrochemical.
You'd almost have to go away from it in increments to a section of your field at a time and slowly move away from it, because
in a very short amount of time it could be transitioned well.
Yeah.
It would be surprising, but it could be done pretty quickly.
And the quality of food that people are eating would increase greatly.
Yep.
So, that was a very informative video. Thank you.